I never expected to find love in the shower. A heartwarming mistake changed my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The steam swirled around me like a thick fog, blurring the line between reality and a memory I wished I could forget. I stood there, water cascading over me, drowning out the world, yet it felt like time had stopped. Tears mingled with the droplets running down my face. My hands trembled as I grasped the shower wall, heart racing. That morning, I lost everything. I had faced the news that left my dreams in tatters, the words echoing in my mind. "I'm sorry, but it's over." The voice on the other end of the phone had been cold, and everything after felt hazy. I thought of Sam, my best friend. We had shared everything: laughter, secrets, and dreams. But that morning, my call had ended our friendship forever. Thoughts spun in my head, a whirlwind of disbelief and sorrow. I had needed him, but he was gone. The steam wrapped around me, offering a strange kind of comfort. It was too hot, yet soothing. Each breath smoothed out the chaos. I could hear the muffled sounds of life outside my bathroom door, the world continuing on without me. What were they doing? Did anyone care? Then, suddenly, the bathroom door creaked open, and a shadow fell across the floor. My heart dropped, and I held my breath. A figure stepped inside, silhouetted against the light. Panic surged through me. Who would come in here unannounced? I thought I was alone. The air felt electric, charged with uncertainty. The figure moved toward me, fluid and calm. My heart thundered as I fought through the fog of emotion. Was this real? It felt surreal. The soft thud of my heartbeat echoed like a ticking clock. I could see a face now, a stranger yet somehow familiar. With trembling hands, I reached for the curtain, heart in my throat. Water dripped to the floor, pooling like the feelings I couldn't express. I could feel my pulse quickening. Who was this person? Was it a mistake? His eyes locked onto mine, and a mix of confusion and yearning filled the air between us. There was something magnetic about him, a pull I couldn't resist. It felt like fate. But just as quickly, I felt an overwhelming rush of fear crash over me. I looked away, the rush of emotions like a tidal wave. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying this wasn't real. The warmth of the water couldn't wash away the uncertainty swirling in my gut. Then, the faintest whisper cut through the steam. "I never expected to find you here." In that moment, I was lost, caught between a past I couldn't escape and a future that was suddenly bright and terrifying. A conflict brewed in my soul. What did this mean? There we were, strangers in a shower, tangled in fate. Was this a mistake or a marvel? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air grew thick with unspoken words, hanging heavily around us, an uninvited guest in the moment. I dared to peek through my fingers at the stranger, trying to decipher the emotions flashing across his face, mirroring my own. Nothing felt real, and yet everything felt profoundly weighty, an intersection of heartbreak and hope. Do you want me to leave? The words were hesitant, almost fragile, as if he sensed the delicate state of my heart. With that soft inquiry, the dam I had built within me began to crack, the plaster of uncertainty peeling away. I shook my head slowly, my voice caught in my throat. The simple act of denying that request felt like an eternity. My life had felt so empty just moments before, and now here stood someone who could bridge that chasm, a flicker of kindness amidst my storm. Then can we talk? His eyes were a soothing balm, a deep well of understanding. They held no judgment, no urgency, just a gentle invitation. It was disorienting yet comforting, a small promise that perhaps I wasn't alone. I didn't respond, averting my gaze back to the wall, focusing on the spiraling patterns of tiles that hadn't changed but felt so foreign. It felt too soon to let someone in. The very thought of opening the floodgates of my grief to this stranger terrified me, yet, the apprehension curled tightly in my chest, squeezing with familiarity. He stepped closer, the warmth of his presence a lingering reminder that there were still humans who cared, those who waded into tumultuous waters, seeking connection despite the risk. "I'm Alex," he finally introduced, his voice enveloping me like the steam swirling around us. All I could manage was a nod. "I'm Lila," he finished for me, a soft smile breaking the heaviness of our silence. It startled me, but it also felt grounding. My name echoed in his voice, as if he was holding it delicately, attempting to lift me from the depths below. I know it's a strange place for a first meeting, but I couldn't help myself. "You looked like you needed someone at that moment, and well, I guess I did too." His honesty was refreshing amidst the chaos. I swallowed hard, the weight of his words crashing over me. I wanted to trust him, just to share the weight of my loneliness, just not this raw and broken version of myself. "You should go," I whispered, the pathos in my voice catching me off guard. "Lila, I don't think you want me to go. The way you were standing here it felt like you wanted someone to reach out." That's what I saw. I trembled at how seen I felt in that shower, in front of a stranger. I hadn't wanted anyone to see the mess I had become. Yet here he was, offering a connection masked in vulnerability. It felt light yet heavy, a crucial dichotomy that pinned me to the wall. In a moment of reckless bravery, I looked up at him harder, as if by gauging the intensity in his eyes, I could find the strength to share my pain. I just lost my best friend." Alex nodded slowly, his expression shifting to one of sympathy. "I'm sorry. That's hard. I can't pretend to know the depths of what you're feeling, but I'm here. Sometimes it helps to share what you're carrying." A moment passed, and I felt compelled to lash out, to push him away and build those walls back up. Yet, instead, I found myself saying, "Everything felt perfect, and now it's all gone." He took a step forward, closing the physical distance, his presence becoming a quiet fortress. "It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to mourn. Life has a funny way of testing our strength. But sometimes, within the grief, there's room for unexpected beginnings." His words anchored me in that swirling storm, a small flicker of hope lighting the path out of darkness. It was terrifying, the idea of what lay beyond. Freedom felt precarious. But Alex was right there, a lighthouse in the fog, and I hesitated to let him in. As the steam thickened once more, suddenly, there was a loud bang from the bathroom door, someone pounding on it. I recoiled, heart racing wildly. The world was coming back to claim me. "Lila, what's going on in there?" shouted a voice I recognized all too well. Panic ignited within me. I turned toward Alex, who stood wide-eyed, confusion etched across his face. Desperation welled up. We had only just begun to share this moment, this connection, and now it was splintering. "I need you to hide," I urged, feeling the walls close around me as I pushed him toward the shower's far edge. I could feel the walls of my heart battle against the tide of emotions crashing down. "Lila, please." The urgency in my whisper urged him to obey. The pounding continued relentlessly, time feeling like it was slipping away. As he squeezed into the corner, I turned back to face the door, knowing that whatever confrontation lay ahead wouldn't just change the course of that day, it could change everything. A twist of fate, a moment caught between the surge of forming connections and the demands of my past. And just as I steadied myself, the door swung open, ushering in the light and chaos I wasn't quite ready for. The light flooded in, spilling like a waterfall across the tiles, sharp and revealing. I blinked against the brightness, the edges of my reality suddenly more defined and less comforting. My heart raced as I turned to face the doorway, grounding myself in an unnatural calm. Standing there, fists clenched and brow furrowed, was Nomi brother. His presence crashed over me like an incoming tide, pulling me back into familiar depths. "Lila, I've been looking for you." He didn't notice Alex tucked away in the shadows. Noah's usual bravado was strained, his frustration mixed with worry that pierced through my surface. I knew he had meant well, ever the protective sibling wouldn't understand how fragile I felt. I forced a smile that felt like it might shatter, a delicate facade over a roaring tempest inside. I was just cooling off, I managed, my voice a faint echo across the room. Cooling off in the bathroom? He stepped closer, his eyes darting toward the shower. What's going on? You looked upset earlier. He could always sniff out my emotions, like a bloodhound trailing a scent. Noah poked at my layers, and for a moment, I felt exposed, like he could see all the tender parts of me I tried to keep hidden. I am fine, I fibbed, the lie tasting bitter on my tongue. My gaze strayed toward the shower's obscure corner, where Alex remained hidden, the tension between us thickening the air. It felt like I was holding on to a delicate thread that could snap, casting us both adrift. Noah crossed his arms, unimpressed. You're not fine, Lila. You haven't been fine for weeks now. He softened, taking a step forward. Can we talk about this? Please, torn between my brother's demand and the fragile new thread of connection I had just begun weaving with Alex, the weight of the world tilted on its axis. Anxiety gripped my chest tighter. You don't want to talk about it right now. Why not? His voice was gentle but insistent, a familiar pattern. I care about you, and I want to help. Can't you see that? A flash of guilt sparked within me, and for a moment, I glanced back at Alex. It was as if I could feel the heartbreak and healing radiating from him. But that place was just beyond touch, a sanctuary I wasn't prepared to share yet. I hesitated a breath too long, a moment too weighted with the unsaid. Alex shifted slightly, the noise barely perceptible, but enough to drag my attention back to him. Defiance broke loose within. Could I really allow myself to be seen here, now, while the world wanted me to keep my scars hidden, Lila? Noah's voice broke through my thoughts, threading with concern. You're scaring me. I just need a minute, I rattled off, biting at my lip, hoping it would keep more words at bay. 5 minutes, then I'm coming in. He didn't wait for a response, turning on his heel and striding back to the door. The moment of reprieve had passed, the door clicked shut behind him, leaving me teetering between my brother's demands and the hope Alex offered. I turned slowly, eyes wide as I reached for the reality of this moment. Lila, are you okay? Alex whispered, breaking the silence that settled in the room, thick with unspent words. 2 Don't know what to do, I replied, my voice cracking, whispered fear spilling into the air. I can't expose you to my family, especially not now. This wasn't supposed to happen. Maybe it was supposed to happen, he said softly, stepping out from the shadows reluctantly, like dawn creeping into a long night. Connecting with someone when we're lost, it's natural. It's okay to seek warmth in the storm. His eyes held something unspoken, an invitation or a challenge. You don't understand. I faltered, the truth spilling out before I could contain it. My life is a mess. I'm a mess, and I can't bring you into that chaos. Maybe chaos needs company. He smiled softly, a gentle defiance that coaxed at the edges of my defensiveness. But my mind reeled, caught between wanting to hold on to someone who understood and fearing that closeness would expose the wreckage I harbored inside. Just then, I heard a knock again, louder this time, and I feel my heart leap into my throat. Lila. I'm coming in. Noah's voice carved through my resolve. Wait. I shouted, panic lacing my voice as I rushed to push Alex back into the corner again. You can't be seen. Not yet. The words flowed out like an emotional dam bursting again, filled with urgency and desperation, but just as I pressed him into the corner, the door swung open, and there was Noah resolute and unyielding gazing straight at the two of us. In an instant, I was plunged into a tempest of emotions. My brother's eyes flicked from me to Alex, disbelief and hurt spiraling deeper than I ever imagined possible, while all I could think was how everything was unraveling in a heartbeat. Lila, what the hell is going on? He demanded, the weight of confusion crashing down like thunder, leaving me speechless as the storm broke loose around us. The breath caught in my throat like a fish trapped in a net. Noah's expression shifted fluidly from confusion to a pained realization. I felt time collapse, each moment stretching agonizingly as the gravity of the scene before us settled in like a thick fog. Alex remained still, his presence a quiet resistance against the turmoil swirling in the room. I could see tension coil in his fists as he stood half-shrouded in shadows, but even with the fear coursing through me, There was something resolute in his gaze and unshed promise written in the lines of his face. Lila. Noah's voice broke the spell, sharp and desperate. Is this what you've been hiding? Is this why you've been so distant? I stumbled over words that stuck like molasses. My protective instinct flared, blood rushing in my ears as the walls around me began to feel suffocating. It's not like that. Then what is it like? He pressed, still standing in the doorway with a mix of hurt and anger lining his features. You didn't think I'd notice something was off? You haven't been yourself for weeks, and now this? A wave of guilt washed over me, heavier than the weight of his disappointment. But just as I opened my mouth to respond, I was acutely aware of everything I hadn't said, the fears, the wounds, and the numbness. Would he even understand? It's complicated. Complicated? Noah echoed, incredulous. It looks pretty damn simple from where I'm standing. I'm your brother. I'm supposed to be the one person you can talk to. And you choose to hide this? I felt the room's air grow thick, the tension knotting tighter across our chests. A quiet part of me let the shame seep in as I remembered why I sought refuge in the bathroom to begin with, how the chaos around me felt so much larger than any whispers of connection. Please, just listen, I finally said, taking a wavering step forward, torn between the need to protect Alex and the undeniable thread pulling me toward truth. I didn't want you to know. I thought it would be easier if I dealt with things on my own. Easier? Noah whispered, his voice cracking open with disbelief. Hiding doesn't make it easier, Lila. You can't just shut us out because things are hard. That's not how we do this. It's not you I'm trying to shut out, I pleaded, my heart racing as I glanced back at Alex. He remained silent, the weight of the situation drawing down on him, too. Noah's gaze followed mine, lingering on Alex for a moment, not with the protective instinct of an older brother, but with the dawning realization of how deep my suffering ran. I can't believe you wouldn't just come to me, Noah continued, anguish lacing his tone. What happened to you, Lila? You don't have to go through this alone. The words caught in my throat, as unruly and unyielding as a storm. What if I don't want to talk to you about it? I blurted out, not realizing how much I needed to say the truth. The ache in my chest erupted, pushing away the veil I had draped over everything. Anger flickered across Noah's face, but it quickly dissolved into something softer, hurt mingling with concern. You don't mean that. I don't know what I mean. My voice rose, reverberating through the small space, raw and aching. All I know is that I'm scared. And the last thing I want is for you to feel responsible for me. At that moment, the fracture of vulnerability surged between us like sharp glass, both fearful and beautiful. But Noah refused to let fear deadengle us. We're family, Lila, he murmured, his voice trembling. You're supposed to lean on me, and I'll help you find your way through this. As if compelled by some unseen force, my gaze flickered back to Alex, the warmth of his quiet strength promising something akin to hope. Tu didn't plan for him to be here. But Alex, he understands. Noah's expression contorted as he weighed my words, his brotherly instinct blurring into confusion. So you're telling me he's the reason you've been shutting me out? No. I cried out, my heart a cacophony of chaos and resolve. I didn't plan for this to happen. He was a moment of clarity amongst the chaos. I thought maybe I could find some peace? In a stranger? His brow knit together in disbelief, anger fizzling into concern again. Lila, you need to get away from anything that feels off. You're fragile right now. I opened my mouth to argue but instead felt the weight of my honesty hang in the air, me fear, my wounds, all trembling there. As I turned back to Alex, who was rooted in his own turmoil, something flickered behind his calm gaze. I sensed he was on the edge of unshed feelings too. Hiding away doesn't work, Lila, Noah repeated softly, but his voice trembled with a new urgency. No more secrets. No more running. We face this together. Before I could respond, something, a glance, a movement caught my attention. A faint sound, like crumbled paper, came from the open bathroom window. I turned sharply, the world outside feeling both distant and terrifyingly close. And that's when I noticed Ida's silhouette standing just beyond the fogged glass, hidden just enough not to be seen. My heart froze as a chill crept down my spine. The soft thud of shoes approached, and my breath caught again, fear blooming in a cold wash, the unmistakable outline of a person. My heart thudded violently as it rang familiar, twisting the air until all sounds muffled, leaving us hanging on the precipice of realization. "Who's out there?" Noah demanded, horror flaring anew. The world I thought I understood shifted beneath me like sinking earth. I stood at a crossroads of everything unspoken, the fragile threads of connection and conflict wavering between us as everything I recognized began to unravel. Who was beyond that window, and what did that mean for the fragile connection I had just begun to forge? The silhouette loomed larger as the figure stepped out of the fog, every heartbeat echoing a silent dread deep within me. The air felt electric, and I could scarcely breathe. Noah's protective instincts kicked in instinctively, placing himself between me and the emerging figure. "Step back," he shouted, grounding the urgency in his tone as he took a step forward. Alex remained silent, his eyes locked on the window, a mix of apprehension and curiosity etched on his face. There was an unmistakable weight in the air, as if the universe held its breath, waiting for the truth to unfold. As the figure emerged into the dim light filtering through the window, I froze. It was Gemma, a classmate from high school, one I hadn't seen since graduation. Her features were as I remembered, but there was a vulnerability behind her eyes that mirrored the unease rattling inside me. "What are you doing here?" I asked, struggling to wrap my head around her sudden appearance. She hesitated, glancing nervously around the room before answering. I wasn't sure if I should come," she admitted, her voice wavering. "But I saw you. I saw the look on your face earlier, and I thought, what look?" "What are you talking about?" Noah interjected sharply, his protective nature clashing with confusion. "Lilith's been going through a lot," Gemma replied, her voice gaining strength against Noah's intensity. "I thought maybe." She paused, visibly collecting her thoughts. "I thought you might want to talk. I know things are different now, but we were friends once." "Friends?" I echoed, my mind racing. The days in high school were dim but yet filled with laughter and connection, an escape from my home life that I desperately needed. "You came all this way to what?" "Check up on me?" Gemma stepped closer, a hesitant warmth in her gaze. "I didn't realize what you were going through." "Not really. But what I heard when I saw you, I felt like I needed to reach out. To let you know you're not alone. Not if I can help it." Her words hung heavy in the air, close to the emotions that had been threatening to spill for weeks. Noah shifted, clearly caught between anger and the instinct to protect. "You don't know what she's dealing with. You can't just show up and expect everything to be fixed." "No, but I can listen," Gemma replied resolutely, her eyes flickering with determination. She looked at me, searching for the truth beneath my guarded exterior. "But only if you want me to." I felt the world stretch and pull around us, truth and vulnerability colliding as I fought to hold back the swell of emotions inside me. I had spent so long keeping walls up, afraid of what would happen if I let someone in. But the warmth of Gemma's gesture sparked something deep, a flicker of hope against the backdrop of despair. "What do you know, Gemma?" I asked, my voice breaking slightly. "What do you think I'm even dealing with?" There was a soft hesitation. "I heard about your mom. I heard about the fight. About how hard it's been. It's hard to ignore the sadness in your eyes. And not just sadness, but something deeper. I know what it's like to feel lost." I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes, stinging like tiny needles. You know?" I stammered, surprised that anyone could see the chaos I felt inside. She nodded slowly, understanding flowing in her gaze. "I had my own struggles. I thought if someone had reached out, it might have made things easier. I never wanted you to feel alone." My heart caught in my throat, gratitude mingling with the ache that filled me. It spun around the emptiness I feared would swallow me whole, pulling me into its tide, seeking connection once more. "Lila, this isn't the time for a reunion," Noah said impatiently, his eyes darting between Gemma and me. "This isn't safe. Oh, and leaving her to deal with it alone is safe?" Gemma shot back, fire lighting in her chest. "This is someone you love, Noah. Don't push away your only chance to connect. As the weight of their standoff grew, I felt an immense pressure rise within me. I needed to choose, but how could I? The complications of love and friendship mingled with betrayal and emotion. Roared like an unwelcome tidal wave. Please, I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. I don't want to fight. I paused, contemplating the paths laid out before me. I just want to find a way to breathe. Suddenly, the climax of pent-up tensions and fears reared its head, feeding into the chaos. Alex, his stillness disrupted, finally stepped forward. What if we all just sat down and talked? I turned to him, stunned by the suggestion that felt both liberating and terrifying. You mean, all of us? Yes, he insisted, his voice steady, as he glanced toward Noah for support. You don't have to deal with this alone, Lila. None of us do, but before any of us could respond, a sudden crash outside drew all our attention to the window. Light poured in as I turned, breath hitching in disbelief. My heart sank into the pit of my stomach when I saw what had fallen to the ground. A stark white envelope lay there, its unaddressed surface reflecting the gray light like a bad omen. Before I could process the implications, my eyes locked onto it with horror. An envelope that could unravel everything I had just begun to piece together. I'm going to get it, I said in a daze, my legs moving before my mind could catch up. But Noah, sensing the urgency hidden in my voice, reached out, holding me back. Wait. Lila, what if I need to see? I tore myself free from his grip, instinct guiding me as I pushed the window open wider and leaned out. The envelope seemed to pulse ominously on the ground, a beckoning shadow promising secrets I wasn't ready to face. As I reached down to grab it, air thick with tension, I felt an electrifying jolt travel through me, a moment that changed everything. In that heart-stopping second, I realized this fragile moment of vulnerability, where connection trembled on the edge of fear, could easily tip into chaos or hope, depending on what lay within that envelope. With my heart racing, I opened it, unprepared for the truth that awaited me, an undeniable twist in the tapestry of our shared pain, ready to unfold in a way I never expected. As I unfolded the envelope, a familiar scent wafted up, sharp and bittersweet like memories I hadn't invited in. My fingers trembled as I dragged the paper free, heart thundering in my ears. The moment was vivid, the chaos of the room faded into a blurred backdrop against the pulse of the moment. Inside lay a letter, but it was as much a weapon as it was a bomb. The handwriting was unmistakably my mother's. My breath caught, a mixture of fear and hope battling within me. I quickly scanned the contents, dread clawing at my insides. Dearest Lila, it began, if you're reading this, it means I'm still not there for you in the way I should be. Tears blurred my vision as I grappled with the heaviness of her words. I felt the room shift around me as the silence strained, Noah and Gemma standing frozen, locked in a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity. Alex watched, uncertainty written on his face, yet there was hope flickering in his eyes like a candle against the dark. With each line, the cacophony of emotions grew louder in my head. She spoke of regret, of dreams unfulfilled, and of her raw, aching love that did nothing to relieve the burden I'd been carrying. Each word struck like arrows, digging into the depths of my wounded heart. I am sorry for my absence in your life, but know this, I fight every day for the chance to be the mother you deserve. I've seen shadows creeping into your smile, and I never wanted that for you. It felt like a brick had been dropped into a still pond, the ripples disturbing every calm thought I had as I clutched the letter, feeling its weight and the weight of her absence compress around my heart. How could she say she was fighting every day? It felt like those battles left me on the front lines to fend for myself, feeling invisible to her struggles. A flicker of movement caught my eye, Noah's sturdy silhouette barely budging, though I could sense his tension radiating across the room. Lila, he said softly, the urgency in his voice practically begging me to look up. You don't have to face this alone. Those words struck me deeper than I expected. My isolation had become my fortress, my sorrow my sentinel. The very people around me had offered me kindness I could hardly grasp. Through my haze of grief and disappointment, I clenched my jaw, forcing the frantic thoughts swirling in my mind to settle. It was never right between us, I choked, my voice wavering as the reality of her shortcomings dawned over me. Yet perhaps glimpses of understanding offered through her past mistakes lingered on the edges of that forgiveness I couldn't yet grant. Lila, Gemma said gently from the shadows behind me. You don't have to forgive her today. Just let her words in, they're a part of you. A part of me. The phrase echoed in my mind like a haunting echo, yet felt curiously liberating. Perhaps acknowledging her pain might lead me to unravel my own. I felt torn between that notion and the emotions clawing for release. I want to scream at her, I finally muttered, feeling the tremors of resentment swell within me. I darted a glance back at Noah. I want her to explain why it felt like I didn't matter, why I was left to pick up the pieces. Lila, you've been strong for too long, Alex broke in, his voice even but edged with sincerity. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to want answers. The floodgates opened as the feelings I had locked away threatened to spill over. But will it even matter? I accused, choking on my words. Will it change anything? Will she be there tomorrow? A year from now? It's all just words on paper. At that moment, all I wanted was relief and anchor to tether my emotions to, a way to handle all the burdens I carried. The abrupt silence crashed around us again, all eyes fixed on me, absorbing my turmoil. Noah stepped closer but hesitated, caught between wanting to soothe me and needing to respect my space. You matter, and that's what's important, he finally murmured, the void of misunderstanding hanging between us softening, if only for a moment. But was it enough? The room pulsed with uncertainty when the letter in my hands grew heavier with each heartbeat. Did she really fight for me? Or was it merely a desperate fantasy to absolve her guilt? Just then, amidst the sea of unresolved tension, Gemma reached over to touch my shoulder. The unexpected warmth radiated through the layers of dread coursing through me. Lila, you're loved despite the pain you carry, you have people here for you. You're not alone in this. Before I could respond, the sharp sound of a phone vibrating on the table shattered the fragile moment we had constructed. I glanced toward it, a wave of panic washing over me, my mother's number flashing upon the screen. I'd put off her calls many times, not knowing what to say. With trembling hands, I picked it up. Lila? My mother's voice echoed over the line, small and uncertain. I saw you. I saw the envelope. Can we talk? My breath caught as the enormity of that moment cascaded over me. Could I give her another chance? Would I choose to engage with the remnants of our fractured relationship, even when the fear of revisiting memories pressed against my heart like a vice? The thread of hope that Gemma had ignited flickered in my chest, battling against the weight of uncertainty. Yes, I think we need to. The words spilled out unbidden, snatching the lingering silence before it could settle again. Noah's eyes widened, filled with concern and just a hint of anger, while Alex stood silently close, a quiet support ready to tether me through whatever storm lay ahead. The tension shifted. A new chapter awaited, but one that came tethered with the raw fragility of the past, rife with unanswered questions and beliefs about love layered beneath the surface yet to be uncovered. That moment, the one where I turned from the envelope that suddenly felt like a key marked a fork in my path. From regret to redemption, a single call could lead me either into a world of healing or darkness. Lila, are you okay? Gemma asked, a gentle hand on my shoulder as I inhaled deeply, face pale beneath my uncertainty. You're not alone in this. As those words wrapped around me like a fragile embrace, the weight of my decisions loomed heavily. But a new truth began to unfurl before me. Perhaps I did not have to walk this path of pain alone, and perhaps the edges of love still lingered, waiting to be carved anew, cutting through uncertainty and heartbreak. And yet, as I prepared to confront my past, a sudden blast of wind swept through the open window, rustling the letter and threatening to pull me back into the storm. I felt my resolve waver, teetering precariously on the edge of uncertainty once more. The sound of the wind was relentless, tumbling through the fragile remains of my thoughts like a wild creature seeking refuge. It sent the letter fluttering from my grasp, spinning into the air before it settled onto the floor, a jarring reminder of the chaos that lay ahead. I felt disoriented, as if I were being swept away by swirling emotions, caught between the fear of what lay beyond my door and the frantic desire to unearth the truth of my mother's absence. Should I answer? The second I voiced my uncertainty, the room erupted in concerned murmurs. It was hard to gauge whether I could trust myself with these, a simple phone call that could unravel years of hurt, or worse yet, enforce the barriers that had long defined my relationship with the woman who had brought me into this world. Alex mustered a half-smile that spoke volumes, his eyes urging me forward. Whatever happens, we'll be right here. That word we felt like a lifeline, a thread tying me to solid ground in an otherwise tumultuous sea. Noah's brow furrowed slightly, the tension between his desire to protect me, to shield me from the harshness of our reality, danced next to the understanding that I needed to take this step alone, albeit with support. You deserve answers, Lila. And you've been brave enough to confront the past already. Those words ignited a simmer of courage inside me. I lifted the phone and steadied my breath, trying to ground myself in the moment. A part of me bristled at the prospect of revisiting the well-worn paths of frustration and abandonment. Yet another part whispered of potential healing, of a chance to at least find meaning in the unresolved fragments of my life. Okay, I said at last, more to myself than to anyone else. I raised the phone to my ear, the weight of my decision pressing against my chest. I can do this. My thumb hovered over the green button, pulse racing with every second. Just breathe, Gemma said quietly, nudging my shoulder ever so slightly. A touch that felt like a reminder I wasn't navigating this uncertain journey alone. Lila? My mother's voice came through the receiver, trembling like a fragile thread hanging between us. I'm so glad you're willing to speak to me. I swallowed back a wave of emotions, reminding myself of the support surrounding me. Why now? I asked, unable to suppress the touch of anger that rose with each word. You've had so many chances. Why call me now? She hesitated, as if the silence itself crafted a have danced around the truths we both feared. Because I saw you confronting everything I'd put you through. I just came home, Lila. I fought my demons. I thought I had time to figure it out. But when I heard you were reaching for closure, it made me realize I can't keep avoiding you. There was a sadness in her voice that stirred something inexplicable within me. This was the woman who had defined my existence in a twisted reflection of love and abandonment. I struggled to reconcile the person speaking on the other end with the memory I held on to, one scrunched to the margins of my heart. How do I know this is real? I challenged, feeling an ember of vulnerability ignite. How can I trust you when I've felt so invisible for so long? Because I'm scared, Lila. Scared of losing you again, scared of never knowing you as the woman you've become. My heart ached. Her admission hovered in the air between us, heavy with unspoken words and long-buried regrets. I envisioned her fragile state, still battling the ghosts of her past and now facing a daughter who had learned to thrive amid the rubble. Scared? I repeated, almost incredulous. You felt scared all this time and never chose to reach out. You let me pick up the pieces alone. I know. Her voice dropped, weighted with remorse. I know I can't change the past. I've just been drowning in my own mistakes. As I absorbed that reality, the need for deep breaths surged. I glanced at the open window where the wind had momentarily stilled, as if granting me a fragile truce. My fingers rubbed the smooth surface of the phone, simultaneously comforting and alienating in its presence. Then came an unexpected twist, a commotion outside. Laughter drifted up from the street, light-hearted and jubilant, cutting through the raw tension of my conversation. It felt oddly out of place, yet strangely grounding. What's happening? I asked, glancing towards the window, irritation bubbling with the interruption. I can hear. That's just the neighborhood kids, my mother interjected gently. They're playing flag football. You used to love that, remember? A sudden pang of nostalgia struck me. I had once played carefree among friends, laughing and forgetting about the tangled threads of my reality. Yeah, I do, I replied softly, the memories aching with familiarity. A flicker of warmth enveloped my heart as the sound of joy filled the air. Fragments of my childhood danced into focus, broken but somehow whole again. I hesitated, grappling between longing and anger. Why didn't you want the same for me? You deserved more than I could give, she whispered, and in that moment, we both understood the chasm created by choices made in fear and desperation. I absorbed her honesty, feeling fragile yet hopeful. Before I could respond, the door swung open and the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. I looked up to find Noah standing frozen, anxiety flickering in his eyes. Lila, I need to talk to you, he said urgently. What? Can't it wait? My voice trembled, torn between the promise of vulnerability and the urgency he exuded. No, he persisted, an intensity flickering beneath the surface. It's important. I shot a glance back at the phone, the connection with my mother still vibrantly alive. Can you hold on? I'll be right back, Lila, please, my mother pleaded, echoing the urgency that thrummed in the space between us. I hesitated, weighing the currents of emotions that tumbled within, feeling adrift as shadows crept up again. No, Noah insisted, shaking his head slightly, a plea etched on his face. Now. As another storm loomed in front of me, the warmth of connection I had begun to feel with my mother mingled with the deepening disquiet in Noah's eyes. The choice hovered thick and heavy, overshadowing the delicate bond one was trying to reclaim. Just give me a second, I murmured into the phone, not letting my gaze wander from Noah, his silent distress a stark reminder that whatever was about to unfold could change everything. And just as uncertainty loomed larger than ever, I felt the fragile threads of my newfound hope in my mother's voice begin to unravel, weaving an intricate pattern of trust that teetered on the edge of ruin. The urgency in Noah's eyes pulled at something deep within me, a tether that tied my past to the present. I glanced back at the phone, hearing my mother's breath hitch slightly, the silence heavy with my uncertainty. Lila? She murmured, her voice breaking, reminding me of the fragility of the connection we were attempting to forge. Please, just a minute, I whispered to my mother, fighting the swell of anxiety clawing at the edges of my certainty. I needed to understand Noah's urgency, the insistent pull that urged me to step away. What's going on? I asked him, catching the shadows flickering behind his gaze. Just come with me, he urged softly, reaching for my hand. It's about Alex. Something inside me twisted as the worry seeped back in. Alex had been a constant, grounding force in this storm, his laughter and love lighting up pockets of my grief. What happened? My voice trembled under the weight of my fear. Just he needs you. Right now, he said, his grip tightening gently on my hand. I felt torn, the weight of my mother's presence on the phone pulling me back even as Noah's silent plea pushed me forward. The laughter from the street faded, its joyous echo swallowed by the gravity of the moment. Wait, I replied, feeling paralyzed. Can't this wait? I need to sort this out first. No. Lila, please. His voice cracked, and it hit something had shifted in him, a vulnerability that was usually masked by his need to shield me from the world. You're going to want to be there for him. Trust me. That tug-of-war between loyalty and new boundaries buried itself deep in my chest. My heart raced as I wrestled with the realities of my life converging in this tumultuous moment. I don't know what to choose. I cried back, tears welling at the corners of my eyes. Just close your eyes for a second. Noah's voice was steady, inviting me to ground myself amidst the chaos swirling within. Breathe, and listen to your heart. You'll know what to do. I shut my eyes tightly, the world around me falling into a blur, a mix of laughter and regret still echoing in my ears. I felt the tremor in Noah's hand, the warmth radiating from him, even as my heart struggled against the whirlwind of emotions. What do I do? I whispered barely above a breath. I can't promise you clarity, but know that love is messy, he said gently, breathing those words like a shield against my doubt. I'll be right here with you, whatever you choose. Something shifted in my chest, pushing me to be brave again. I opened my eyes and took a deep breath, aware of my mother still waiting, breathlessly, for a response to her attempt at reconnecting with me. I need to understand, I said into the phone, my voice steadying, anchoring to my newfound courage. Of course, my mother replied softly, her voice a gentle breeze through the tumult. Take your time. I turned my attention back to Noah, a moment of shared understanding passing between us. I stepped away from the phone, into the open doorway where my heart urged me to follow him. Let's go, then. Show me what's happening. His relief flickered instantly as he led me down the hallway, the echoes of laughter still swirling outside wrapping around our moment like a soft cocoon. We emerged into the vibrant colors of the world outside. The sun bathed the street in warmth, a stark contrast to the icy grip of uncertainty still threatening to inundate me. A small crowd of children gathered in the middle, their laughter filling the space with pure joy, elusive yet infectious. Then the scene unfolded like a slow-motion revelation. I spotted Alex, silhouetted amidst the cheerful chaos, but he wasn't standing alone. A cluster of friends surrounded him, their expressions shifting from amusement to surprise. I strained my ears and caught snippets of their conversation before my heart dropped. "Come on, Alex. Just throw it," one of them shouted, and with a sinking feeling, I saw Alex's expression darkening, hesitating as he held a football awkwardly, laughter trailing off into silence. "No, I'm not ready," he murmured, looking marginally defeated, the way his shoulders slumped, betraying a flicker of vulnerability. My heart raced as a tidal wave of concern surged through me. Whatever armor he had was slowly chipping away before my eyes. Noah's reassuring presence beside me vanished in a blink as he stepped forward, bringing Alex's gaze back up with a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You got this." The breathy determination in Noah's voice radiated through the group, igniting the spirit of camaraderie among them. But even as I felt a thrill rushing back, a sudden flurry of uncertainty danced through me. What was this moment revealing? The laughter faded slightly as Alex turned, his expression raw and conflicted, letting me in on the unguarded reality he carried concealed behind those jovial smiles. I moved forward, guided by instinct, weaving through the crowd. "Alex," I called out, feeling the raw energy of the moment sharpen. His eyes met mine, a mixture of relief and uncertainty washing over his features as he registered my presence. But before he could respond, just as the ball left his hand, curving upward against the blue canvas of the sky, a scream erupted a heartbeat later, slicing through the warm summer air like a knife. "Watch out!" All heads turned to where the ball had sailed. A flash of uncontrollable dread gripped my heart as I saw a figure stumbling out from behind a parked car, darting to retrieve the ball while laughter turned to gasps, and laughter dissolved into alarm. "Stop!" I shouted, thrusting my hands out as if I could halt the heartbeat of time, desperately hoping for a different outcome. In that instant, the threads of hope and joy I had saved began to fray. I coughed on the air thick with sudden horror, enveloped in a sorcerous blend of love and fear, desperately aware it would all change in a split second. And just like that, everything shifted. The world slowed, each moment stretching and distorting like a reflection in rippling water. I felt the echoes of my heart pounding in my ears as the figure lunged forward, arms outstretched, aiming to catch the football launched skyward. The crowd's gasps melded into a single, collective breath, suspended in an unbearable silence. I barely registered Noah's voice resonating behind me, his urgency flaring but lost in the chaos consuming my senses. "Lila, focus. We need to move." Yet I could hardly think. All I could see was Alex's shocked expression, and the blur of motion in front of him. Confronted with a visceral need to protect him, my instincts took control. "Alex." I shouted again, my voice cracking under the pressure of fear. My legs propelled me forward, the ground a blur beneath me. The crowd surged like a tsunami, yet I pushed through, hands outstretched as if I could reach him through the din of panic. "Lila, wait." Noah's words followed me. I could hear the rush of his footsteps behind us, but they felt distant, trivial in the face of the impending crisis. My whole body thrummed with adrenaline, but I wasn't fast enough. Just as I reached the edge of the thrumming crowd, everything turned in an instant. I saw the ground shift beneath Alex's feet. There was a moment where the world held its breath, but then reality snapped back into harsh clarity. Alex stumbled, and my breath caught in my throat. He lost his balance, eyes wide, caught between laughter and shock. Then, there came a sickening thud. The jarring sound vibrated through me like a hammer striking glass, not shattering, but fracturing the day into jagged pieces of what could have been. In a blink, the warm summer air morphed into a cacophony of panic. The football rolled away, forgotten, as laughter quickly dulled, faces shifting from joy to horror. I reached Alex just as he fell, his body crumpled onto the pavement, the breath knocked from his chest, leaving only silence in his wake. "No. Alex." I cried, falling to my knees beside him. His eyes were shut, brows furrowed in an expression of confusion more than pain. The laughter and gaiety around us dissipated into an ambient hum as the concerns of onlookers swirled, turning into murmurs and unnecessary questions. Noah was instantly at my side, his hands resting on my shoulders, grounding me in this sea of chaos. "He's going to be okay, Lila. He just needs to breathe," he assured me, but it was an anchor thrown into turbulent waters, barely holding steady. "Alex?" My voice trembled, searching for a sign that he was still there, even as the icy grip of fear curled around my heart. I watched him carefully, willing him to wake, to smile that familiar, warm smile. But his gaze remained unfocused, the light flickering behind his lids. Then, a shadow flickered over us. A tall figure appeared at the edge of the crowd, cutting through the panic. My mother. I hadn't even realized she had come out, that her earlier conversation had led her here, driven by the same unfettered love that had borne me through so many storms. "Let me through," she urged, her voice slicing through the murmurs, her presence immediately calming. She knelt beside me and examined Alex, her fingers checking for signs of consciousness while a depth of understanding enveloped the moment. "Stay with me, Alex," she coaxed, her voice soft but firm. "You've always been a fighter. Just focus on my voice." The intuition behind her words was nothing short of magical, a reminder woven through years of shared history and love. The crowd began to disperse slightly, murmurs exchanged between neighbors as people offered help, an unexpected kindness piercing through the chaotic atmosphere. It was as if the world was reminding me that in crowded spaces, love finds a way to stand out, even amidst darkness. "Call an ambulance." A voice broke through, elevating the panic once more, its urgency ricocheting through the crowd. But against the backdrop of fear, there was a glimmer of hope, an ember flickering brightly. Alex stirred slightly, his eyelids fluttered, revealing pools of confusion and fear. Yet I could see the threads of strength knitting back together, a delicate promise in those fleeting moments. "Lila?" His voice emerged as a whisper, fragile and laced with uncertainty. "What happened?" "I'm here, I'm right here," I assured him, my heart shattering and mending in the same breath. "You're going to be okay. Just focus on me, Alex." As he fought to sit up, tension brewed around us. The ominous rhythm of approaching sirens grew nearer, yet amid this brewing storm, I caught a glimpse of Noah, standing steadfast, his brows knitted with concern. But there was something else, something transformative, a flicker of resolve igniting behind his eyes. I felt a tension building, pulling tighter, like the last notes of a poignant symphony crafting unspoken promises. But beyond that, an undeniable realization clawed at the edges of my senses. Love is inexplicably intertwined with chaos, it exists without caution, thriving amidst turmoil and uncertainty. And just as my mind began to process the fractures around me, a thought hit me like a tidal wave. What if we hadn't been there just moments before? What if the unpredictable nature of love entwined in those fleeting seconds had been lost forever? I shook my head, trying to dispel those haunting thoughts as I focused on Alex, unwilling to let the shadows creep back in. Then, something jolted my heart, an electrifying revelation. I tightened my grip, holding on not only to Alex but to the moment itself, as though within the fragility of life, there lied intricate threads of connection, weaving ever so close. Every moment a heartbeat, every heartbeat a promise, and just as the sirens pierced the quiet, echoing into the fading sunlight, I felt the air shift again. Noah's hand found mine, grounding me, igniting both warmth and trepidation. Whatever fate wove ahead would unravel against the ticking clock of our hearts. Caught between vigilant hope and harrowing despair, I realized then, in a world filled with chaos, everything could change in an instant. "Stay with me, Alex," I whispered softly, just as the shadows began to lengthen, uncertainty deepening around us. I am not sure how much time passed in that moment, filled with cascading emotions, outcome uncertain, and hope hanging like a fragile thread above us. The wailing sirens grew closer, echoing our collective fear, yet a shift in the atmosphere urged for a reckoning, demanding that I confront everything I had buried within. I watched Alex as the people around us faded into blurred shapes and cautious whispers, relying on whether he would return to the light. Stay with me," I chanted under my breath, a desperate plea matched only by the unmistakable thudding beat of my heart. He lay there, disoriented yet fighting, and I couldn't help but feel a lightning strike of realization. Our lives couldn't continue on separate paths. I had to let go of my fears, to pull him close, to remind him of the bond that knit us together amidst the chaos. "Lila," he whispered again, fragile notes escaping his lips. "I'm scared." That admission shattered what little courage I was clinging to. Behind his confusion, I could see the depths of sorrow and uncertainty that echoed my own heart, mirroring the journey we had each navigated in fear. "Me too," I admitted softly, allowing the honesty to break down my defenses. But we're not alone anymore. Noah's steady presence stood close at hand, a looming shadow of support. Yet there was someone else beside us, an anchor shimmering with both familiarity and distance. My mother knelt on the ground, voice coaxing Alex gently, weaving her own thread of connection back into the fabric we had thought irreparably torn. "You are loved, Alex," she emphasized, and for a moment, it felt like perhaps even that small breath shared between us could light a path forward. With every breath, I began to comprehend that love could exist within vulnerability, in the cacophony of our fears and the tremors of uncertainty. It wasn't only a beacon to guide us but a quiet strength, too. It persisted through flickering shards of broken trust, holding the power to heal. As the ambulance sirens crescendoed into focus, I realized I needed to be brave, for both Alex and myself. An unexpected wave of determination surged through me, prompting the words I desperately wanted to say or the things I should say. "Alex," I said, my voice trembling yet steadying with purpose. "You need to know, no matter what happens here, you matter to me always." His gaze softened, floating through uncertainty and fear, meeting my sincerity. I wasn't sure I could let anyone in. "I get that," I said, feeling warmth swell within me, a bond sparking anew against the uncertain tide. "But we are stronger together." In that moment, Noah slipped his hand into mine, squeezing gently, offering silent support. The familiar energy coursing through us rooted me deeper, and suddenly, it all made sense. This would be our story, not one confined to shadows of fear and loneliness, but a journey tethered to understanding, vulnerability, and love. Just then, the ambulance screeched to a halt, and a familiar chaos descended upon us, a team of paramedics bursting through, moving with purpose and care like they understood the gravity of this moment. I watched as they guided Alex onto a stretcher, wrapping him in blankets and silence, every interaction a tangible connection unfolding within us all. The world shrank, sharpening focus on one thing: love. As they prepared to transport him, I stepped closer, holding tightly to the resolve that had blossomed within me. "I'll be here when you wake up," I promised, locking my gaze onto his, willing him to return, to rise again into the light where hope lingered, where we were no longer defined by our past failures but by the bonds we were bound to forge in the moments to come. I remember the way the sun dripped smoothly down the horizon, draping the world in golden threads as the paramedics loaded him into the ambulance. I caught Noah's eye just as I managed to take a step back, grappling with how everything had shifted, silently recognizing that the unraveling had brought us a sense of closeness that would only deepen from here. As they shut the doors to the ambulance, a small voice caught my attention. Among the crowd, the children who had been playing just moments ago, now quieted and absorbed in what had transpired, began to speak softly amongst themselves. It was strange how that voice, a whisper of innocence, reminded me that life waits for no one, that joy and sorrow coexist like intertwined tendrils, and sometimes those lines blur and twist before your very eyes. "Lila." I jumped slightly, turning to find Gemma standing a few steps away, her expression a mixture of concern and empathy. "Are you all right?" I nodded slowly, allowing the warmth of her voice to envelop me. "I will be. We'll be all right." In the ensuing silence, I reached for the letter that still lay crumpled in my pocket, my mother's words mingling with the rawness of the moment. Perhaps there was a way forward that held space for healing rather than bitterness. Love, through its many forms, held the weight to bridge the gaps I had once thought insurmountable. As I glanced toward the ambulance, the pain still fresh in my heart, it suddenly occurred to me that this moment, laden with uncertainty, was indeed the beginning of something beautiful. These fragments of raw emotion would stitch together the fragile quilt of my life, the stories we would share, the laughter yet to come, and the peeling back of the layers that had kept us apart for far too long. And as the ambulance roared off, slicing through the layers of the sunset, I held steadfast to this truth in my heart: love doesn't just survive, it transforms us. It ties us to one another even as our lives are set upon unpredictable paths. No matter how chaotic or heart-wrenching, love surged in the cracks of our realities, turning moments of fear into unwavering strength. And as I stood beside my brother, both of us aware that the ties of family have a way of rooting us, I felt the word bloom deep within me, together. Lila. Noah turned to me, face lined with determination, the remnants of turmoil now replaced by something new. You ready? I nodded slowly, a smile breaking across my lips despite the moment's gravity, knowing now where my heart wanted to go. Because maybe, just maybe, love, hold it close, let it seep into the crevices of our fears, would lead us into light once more. And in that profound realization, amidst the swirling tendrils of life's chaos, I understood, all the pieces of our hearts created a hope that could withstand even the darkest storms, finding a way to rise again as one. And with that, we stepped forward into the uncertain warmth of tomorrow, forever changed, yet eternally tethered by the tangles of love we began to weave anew. Together.